Modi and Prabowo signed several agreements, including those to strengthen bilateral cooperation in defence and security. Moving forward, both nations plan to enhance joint military exercises and security exchanges. Following the visit, the Indian Coast Guard said it renewed an agreement with the Indonesian Coast Guard for a period of 3 years. Both sides have carried out Indian Ocean joint patrols since 2002. Sana, what impact do you think that these outcomes would have on the security, the stability of the South China Sea?
What I've seen, this is not a new development, and I feel this one visit is not going to change anything or elevate relationship, because the relationship has already been elevated. And at least from India's side, and in fact from Indonesia's side, it's very clear that both sides want to deepen their defense ties. And India is a welcome party when it comes to security cooperation in the region. India is a friendly country in the region, and this is one of the reasons. And in fact, India is not considered as an external party when it comes to a conflict in the region. India sends its patrol ship on friendly visits to all these countries. Then apart from that, India consistently conducts bilateral maritime exercises. And in fact, Indonesia was one of the first countries to have a maritime joint statement with India, apart from Malaysia. So this tells us the depth of the defense cooperation between India and Indonesia. And in fact, this is a part of broader objective of India playing a greater role in the region, and Indonesia, Vietnam, Philippines welcoming India and perhaps looking at joint cooperation. And India has in fact have been involved in oil exploration activities with Vietnam. Then the level of defense cooperation with Philippines is also growing. Then now we are seeing Indonesia. So I think this is a part of India's Act East policy, and this is one of the reasons why we call this policy one of the most successful policies in the world of policy frameworks.
So you don't think, in terms of the, let's talk about the personal relationships between Modi and Prabowo, that the relationship could become, warmer between the two countries?
Absolutely. In fact, if we just talk about how Modi's foreign policy has changed India's foreign policy, Modi has kind of brought his personalized diplomacy, be it President Trump, be it Southeast Asian leaders. We have seen that how Modi have called all these leaders as friends and brothers. So Modi hug diplomacy is something that we have seen all over. So I think this is no different with respect to Indonesia. But of course, as of now, I do see, given the depth of the relationship, the potential has not been realized. There's definitely a lot of potential for these countries to realize. And I do feel that Modi and now Prabowo being in Indonesia, and in fact, when Joko Widodo was there, other leaders, India's relationship with Indonesia has been very consistent. But I do believe that now Modi's personalized diplomacy with the Indonesian leader could also take it to the next level.
Right. And obviously, Roger, the fact that he was a former defence minister might mean that there is more of a focus on the defence and security side of their relationship.
Right. And on the political spectrum, they both believe belongs to the right side and referred to as commonly populist. I'm using it in a neutral term. That they focus more on their people's welfare and they focus more on the national interests. So I think that also helped to bring them close together.
Now, India also marks 75 years of diplomatic ties with China. India Foreign Ministry Vikram Misri visited Beijing in late January, meeting with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and Vice Minister Sun Weidong. China asked India to resume direct flights, which were suspended in 2020, and agreed to facilitate the return of Indian pilgrims to Tibet for the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra pilgrimage to Mount Kailash and Lake Mansarovar in Tibet. It's considered a sacred journey for Hindus, Buddhists and Jains. Additionally, both sides plan to reshare cross-border river data. Let's listen to the words of Foreign Secretary Misri. Watch this.
We are on our way to stabilizing the relationship. I cannot overemphasize the importance of communications between our two countries, and I would like to specifically record the contribution that you personally have made in maintaining these communications at various levels between our two leaderships.
Sana, did you think that there was sort of some careful selection of words there from the foreign minister? Usually we hear sort of, shared commitments, shared values, shared objectives. This was really very narrowly focused on just communication.
Absolutely. I feel that since 2020, this is a very consistent stand of India. If you look at the language, verbal as well as joint statement, official document, this is something that we would see very calculated and measured response from India's side. And as you mentioned, that there is no shared commitment for regional stability peace, because there's nothing common in India and China as of now. Their perspective right now, the major objective is to just kind of de-escalate tensions and manage whatever they have been able to achieve in October 2024. So I think even though a lot of scholars, a lot of media is talking about this thaw in India-China relations, so I think we have to take our time and see where these relations go. I don't really see as a reset in India-China relation, and this is something that we are also seeing in the statements that are coming out from the officials.
Would you agree with that, Roger? It's not a reset. It's very careful management, perhaps by the Indian side. We've heard that it was China that asked for the flights to be resumed. How significant is that? How significant is allowing pilgrims back into Tibet?
Well, I don't think it's a breakthrough. It's not a reset. It's just not even return to the normal, because you have to remember in 1950, China is the first Asian country that recognized India as the independent power. So they used to be really good with each other. And we have to remember in 2015, 1 year after Modi became the prime minister, he visited China, and Xi Jinping visited India as well. They signed a very large framework that covers almost everything, that promotes the high-level humanistic collaborations. But nothing happens after that. So now they're talking about the resume of direct flights, personal exchange, people-to-people exchange. You have to remember India and China are having normal diplomatic relations, and now they're talking about people-to-people exchange. So you can see that they are not resuming back status quo ante before the 2020 Galwan Valley conflict.
Okay, and that was obviously a very big red line, Sana, the Galwan, the tragedy at Galwan Valley, where we understand 20 Indian soldiers were killed. For you, in terms of these latest announcements, what were the most significant aspects for both sides? What is it that for India was of most value and for China?
I think, as Roger mentioned, that this is just kind of managing relations. So and both countries have diplomatic relations since 1950. So now imagine we are still talking about things like, okay, we have to resume direct flight, we have to talk about people-to-people relations. So I feel that the underlying fact is there is still mutual distrust, specifically from India's side. I think it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when the next standoff is going to take place, and when the relationship are going to go back to how it was in the past 4 years. So I do believe that in the past 4 years, whatever has happened, it will take a lot of effort from the Chinese side, a lot of efforts to kind of bridge this trust deficit. And I don't think India could do anything. China has to put in more effort to make India realize that, we are a reliable partner. And I don't think that's happening anytime soon.
So the side with more leverage, you are saying, is India?
I absolutely believe so.
Roger, let's briefly talk about BRICS. Under Prabowo's leadership, Indonesia has officially joined BRICS as its first Southeast Asian nation, expanding the bloc that began with Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa to 10 members. China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs promptly issued a statement welcoming the move. So, Roger, let's go back now again to Indonesia's perspective. What benefit does it bring Indonesia? Do you think it's sort of material benefits, or is it more to do with status?
Well, I think, of course, to join new multilateral organizations or mechanisms like BRIC is a good development for Indonesia, because, like I said, they are developing their own new path of diplomacy. Outside of ASEAN, they try to reach out to great powers as well. So joining BRICS is a good development. And from the Indian side, actually, Indians has been using Indonesia as an ally or a counterweight to counterbalance China's growing influence in BRICS. Because if we remember, in the last expansion of BRICS, China tried to introduce Pakistan and Iran into BRICS by expanding that. That actually dilute the power of the traditional powers like Brazil and India. So India are trying to get friendly powers like Indonesia inside of that to counter China's balance.